Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions, let's do a level 99 review of Kiton, and I'm pretty excited about this video and this character because she's kind of become the centerpiece of my global account. I originally got her because I didn't have her in JP, and I have a policy where I want to use different units on different accounts, but she turned out to be one of the most fun units in the game. But she's been amazing for my free-to-play global account. She allows me to punch well above my weight, specifically in how I can use Drain Force against Orlandu. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's first talk about the sad translation of her name. I talked about this in detail in my translation rant video, so I won't relitigate it here. But this game deserves better. Like, so much effort is put into every aspect of the game. I wish they could have gotten good translators to do the names. The story dialogue is actually pretty good, but the character names. And then what's especially infuriating is that you could conceivably go back and then patch the dialogue in order to make it better, but the names are set in stone. That cow's out of the barn, and they are so important. Kitone, Grace, and Ma Chérie in particular, those are awful. But anyway, Kitone here is Earth Element, main job Ninja, sub job Soldier, and Time Mage. When she was first released, most people thought of her as a second Stern, which is fair. Very early game, self-sacrifice and shuriken was a very strong combo. But she also started the evade team mini meta, but in JP now I would say that she's kind of fallen off the map. For evade teams, Vineta, Laswell, and Super Stern are going to be better damage dealers. And Dark / units are much more relevant, so Shadow Lynx actually gets a lot more play than Kiton. But if and when there is a raid when you need Earth / chaining, Kiton will shine, but until then, I don't know. And looking at her in a typical damage dealer sense, she does not keep up with the meta. Like I said before, the self-sacrifice plus shuriken was powerful early game, but as time goes on, it's going to be less and less viable. I said this about Delita and Thancred, but she does not have breaks or piercing or slayers, and furthermore, her base attack is not super high. With her Soldier subjob, she could have had a top-level damage-dealing attack in Hazard Break, but she doesn't have that. But before we get into more detail, let's talk about her Trustmaster, and this is low-key one of the best in the game. Evade 12 and Agility 5 is great, but it's her active ability. It will raise, move, and jump for 3 turns, that's fine. But it also decreases the chance of being targeted. This is a very powerful skill that you can put on anybody. And I would really recommend to try this out on either a glass cannon or a healer, because those are characters that you want being hit as little as possible. But putting this on like Ayaka in particular can make her super annoying, even more annoying than she was before. Another Trustmaster that can do this is Vineta's Trustmaster. That will also give you hide. And then just for these 2 Trustmasters alone, I want to raise Ayaka to Limit Break 4 so that they can use Trustmasters, just for this reason. Okay, but let's go into her ability board and we'll look at her jobs. Main job Ninja, she has Shuriken. As you can see, I've turned this off. It's great for farming easy quests, but I think for auto battle PvP in particular, you want to turn this off. I just feel like it doesn't keep up, you know, and against crazy tanks like Engelbert or Warrior of Light, it's just not going to do very much damage. And then Hide, like I just said, that's great for her. Dream Within a Dream, this is great for chains, but for like overall damage, when you're not going for chains or just going through PvE or something, this is not that great, so I will often turn this off as well. And then Utsusemi, this is a great self-buff to raise her evasion. And then if you do use Kiton, you do want to get her evasion up as high as you can. And so to really get her going with her evade, it does take a lot of investment. You gotta work on vision cards and espers, and then you gotta pull certain UR vision cards and espers, and then you gotta work on ideally a +5 hat or stuff like that, so it can be an investment to get an evade team off the ground. Alright, the next is a Shadowbind. Short range, but does decent damage, and then has a chance of stop. And then stop is one of the best status effects in the game, just stops a guy in his tracks. And then as you can see, I have raised the faith on her, so she has better chances of getting her status effects off. Okay, we'll look at the sub-job ninja. Here's Poison Mist. This is an interesting skill. It will poison guys, of course, and that can be good in long fights like the tower, or against tanks which have high defenses. But you can also move with this ability, and then movement is really one of the strengths of Kiton. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then here is Doton. This is one of her best attacks, one of the two best attacks, the other one being Drain Force, I would say. And then the reason why this is Sayaki, even if she had like, 50% damage resistance to all attack types, none of those resistances would block this Doton, so Doton would do the full damage. And then this attack comes really handy in the tower because there are a lot of enemies in there with high resistances. And this is really kind of a secret weapon of ninjas. It's a little bit under the radar as far as an attack. Most people focus on shuriken, but this is often the better attack. And then Decider of Fate, that's another self-buff, raise accuracy and critical hit. I should raise the level on this. This is pretty good too. Okay, next let's look at the Soldier sub-job, and this is what I have on her 95% of the time because of Drain Force. But Hazard Form, this is one of the better attack self-buffs in the game, but it does drain your own HP. If you did want to use her specifically for Drain Force, I would turn this off, since that won't help with that. And then Osmos Force, this could be good against bosses in PvE. If you can take down their TP or their AP, they'll be able to do much less, so don't sleep on this ability. And then Hazard Spin, I really like this one. It's one of her more damaging skills. It's also AoE, she spins around so she can hit guys around her. It does take away HP from herself, but this does so much damage that I think it's worth it. It's worth going out of your way to make this work, I would say. And then Paralyzing Edge, not a lot of damage, but you could do Paralysis. That's another good status effect. And then Drain Force. I've made multiple videos about this, and I even made one where I specifically go after Orlando with this Kiton. I'll put a link to that in the notes. But yeah, this kind of makes the character for me. And then she might be the best Drain Forcer in the entire game, and that comes from her mobility. If we saw from before, she has a move 5, jump 4. That comes partly from Shukuchi here. And because Kiton is so mobile, it really kind of makes a lot of her abilities more viable, maybe than they would be on other slower characters. But Drain Force is definitely one that benefits from this. And then the reason why she has become the centerpiece of this account is because for most PvP, I can go Orlando hunting, and I can get pretty good results. Like I said before, punching above my weight, my team, when you look at it on PvP, it only has an attack rating of about 1,000, but I can go after Orlando-led teams of like attack 2,000 and still take them down. And then I did talk about this in the Orlando hunting video, but as long as Kiton can do at least 51% damage to Orlando, I feel like that's good enough. Because she gets close, maybe she takes a hit from Orlando. Orlando can't one-punch her because either she evades, or because of her earth element, she'll have a resistance to his attack. And then the next turn she can use Drain Force on Orlando, get back most of her life, take away at least half the life of Orlando. And then if nobody heals Orlando in the meantime, the next turn Kiton is going to take down Orlando. So yeah, as long as people are using Orlando, I'm going to have a way in, even against high-level PvP. And then I'll talk about a Drain Force build for her at the end of the video. Okay, and the last soldier skill is Hard Slash, and this one I think is also another underrated ability. It's super vanilla, it has no abilities, it's very short range, but it does more damage than many of her other attacks, so I think you do want to use this. I prefer this to a shuriken actually. I prefer that she runs up to the guys rather than hit them from afar. Okay, and then last sub-job. This might seem like a weird job for her, Time Mage. But if you think about it, it's kind of ninja-like in how it works. But especially transposition here. This is a very useful skill, again, made better because she's so mobile, but she can switch her own location with a target. And then you can use this in a lot of ways. You can use this to advance her many more spaces in a turn than you would normally. You could use it with a teammate. You could pull your teammate back, maybe get them out of danger. You could use it against an enemy, kind of pull that enemy out and then isolate it from the other teammates, the enemy teammates, and then have your own guys surround it. Or you could use it to escape if Kiton is in danger of going down, so lots of uses for this. I admit I have not made a lot of use out of this, but I would like to. I think it could be really good. Okay, then we have Immobilize. Here's another thing that would benefit from Faith. Haste, that could be a good buff for her teammates. Comet, her magic ability is not very high, so I don't know if you need this too much. Stop, that's another nice status effect. And then Slow, again, another good status effect. But I don't know, if you want to focus on physical attacks and not support or magic, if you do use Time Mage, you might want to turn off everything except for Transposition. That might be worth it to you, depending on what you want from her in a quest. Okay, then we'll look at support abilities. Here's a Shukuchi, which I showed earlier. Move and jump +1, excellent for her. Self-sacrifice, that will greatly increase her attack. Her attack goes down. Yeah, under 300, so I don't know. She's not a top-tier attacker at all. And Shuriken is not going to help with that, so yeah, again, I think you want to stick with Hard Slash, Doton, stuff like that. Alright, but otherwise, for support abilities, she's got this one, immunity to Slow, Stop, Haste, Quicken. Somebody made the interesting observation that if you equip this on her, she will not cast Haste on herself, because the AI will recognize that she has the resistance to that, so that could help you support your other characters if you like. Speed cast if you wanted to get out those haste stuff out more quickly. And then Shadowrunner, raise agility and luck. Those will both help her evade, so if you wanted to go even more further on her evade, maybe equip that on her. Okay, reaction ability, I have slow counter on here. If you get hit, you can cast slow on the enemy. And then counter slash, really basic slash counter attack. And then poison barb. This could be a good counter again for longer fights or against tanks with high defenses. Okay, then master ability here, evasion +15, so yeah, you definitely want to build her for evasion. And then limit break is very good, Saiga Shadowbind. 2-hit skill, so this could be good for raids. Good damage as well, that's L, and chance of inflicting stop. And then limit breaks, when they have a status effect, their rate of getting off is much higher than just a standard attack. So I think you kind of want to make a priority of getting this out. It does cost a lot of AP, but if you can get it out, you're almost guaranteed to stop someone, and that's really powerful. Okay, let's look at some equipment. Let's go to the formation screen, actually. So first, let's build her for evade. So here, as we can see, I have a hat. This is a +5, so it gets some bonus evasion in there. You can give her any hat. I made the wizard's hat because it's easier, cheaper to do for my free-to-play account. I also like this Brave Ring. This will not work the way that I have it set up, but if you did not have a hat, you could get a +5 of the Brave Ring and get some bonus evasion there. And then that comes in handy especially when I'm doing a Drain Force build, which I'll show you in a second. But otherwise, for evasion, you could also do the Shiva Esper. That will give you evasion up to your party. The thing about this, though, is that it doesn't have a lot of attack. A better card for your party might be this one here. You won't get as much total evasion at the end when you max it out, but you will get more attack. And then you get the slash attack up, so that will help with hard slash, stuff like that. And then another thing that's attractive about this card is that it is MR, so it's much easier and cheaper to max than it is a UR Vision card. Even in my JP Whale account, I still have not maxed a single UR card, just because the cost is so egregious. Other good candidates for an Evasion build. This one here will raise the luck of your party. Luck, that also figures into your evasion. And since it's a party ability, you can put that on anybody in your team. And then here, Cleansing the Mind. This is a personal ability that gives you luck. So these two luck bonuses, they will stack if you really, really wanted to go for an Evasion build. And then any card that raises agility, like this one, this is a personal agility up, or the Ramza Belov card from the Final Fantasy Tactics collaboration. That will raise agility on your party. And then for Esper, still the best Esper I don't have, unfortunately, is Tetrasilphid. She has 15, I think, evasion points in her panels, so I really want to pull that. So yeah, that is some thoughts on a evasion build of Kiton, which I do recommend very much. And then next is a Drain Force build for Kiton, and that's what I have here. First of all, I gave her the Platinum Robe. This is the Vital version, and then I got the HP up very high. I did not make the Plus version of this because she doesn't need resistances. I just want her to evade. And then to help with the evade, I gave her the Brave Ring, which I showed earlier. Fairly soon we'll get the Two-Headed Dragon event where we can make the ribbon, and that will be like a wizard's hat that is an accessory, so anybody can equip it. I'll be able to equip it even with the Platinum Robe, which is another armor. So that will raise her evade there. And then I'm giving her Jesus Bells, just so that she can use Drain Force every turn in a row if she can. One thing about Drain Force that I wanted to mention was that it has 5 uses. So if you do use Kiton or another Drain Forcer in a guild battle, in that first guild battle you want to count how many times she uses Drain Force, and then think about if she has enough for the next battle as well. So that might be the difference between hunting Orlandu in the first battle only, or hunting Orlandu in both battles, depending if you could just take down the other team with 2 Drain Forces. Okay, and then for the Esper, I have a Cactar here. The reason why I like Cactar is because I can get both the Man-Eater up to 15, and then the Lightning Eater up to 15. So put together, that's 30. That will help me against Orlandu in particular. If I wanted a more general Esper just to use Drain Force on anybody, then I would use Odin. And then here, this is a great card for HP. That's a very high base HP, 361 there, and then personal effect max HP up. And then we have a party HP up with the Golem Esper here. And so my Drain Force Kiton has 3600, that's pretty good. And yeah, that's more than enough to 2-punch any Orlandu that I've come up against. Also for the Trustmaster, I could give her Vinetta's heals in order to get the Light Slayer in Global. But I'm not going to raise up a character just for that. But another interesting thing in Global is that some of the cards, they have become standard pool rather than limited time. So this one, for example, I'd like to max this someday, because that can give me Light Eater, and so I could put that on my Drain Force users and then more easily go after tanks like Engelbert or Warrior of Light. But yeah, that is a look at Kiton. If you have her leveled, please try out her Drain Force and her Doton in particular. I think those would be great, and then her Trustmaster, try that on healers or glass cannons, that would also be great. However, I don't think I can recommend people pull her from now or level her from now. The only people that I would really recommend to level her up and use her would be either really big fans of Evade or Drain Force. And then even if you love Evade, I think you would be better to go for Vineta, Laswell, or Super Stern. Kiton, her damage does not hold up, except for some weird niche abilities. But for Drain Force, yes, she still might be the best Drain Forcer in the game. And that has everything to do with her mobility. Alright, but I think that will do it for my level 99 review of Kiton. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.